Hello, 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 long time no see. I'm back and today I'm going to do a video. I'm going to talk about something I didn't expect to do that. I had many themes of video to do about arts and craft and also decluttering, and I had that in mind. And I thought that this time I had to do this video while it's still fresh, because it's about a book that I just read. So I want to do the video now while it's still fresh in my mind. So the book I'm talking about, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if my camera is straight. So the book I'm talking about is, as you probably saw on the title, is Spare by Prince Harry. However, all the thoughts are from Prince Harry, but there is a ghostwriter. I tell you his name right away. His name is J.R. Meringer. I don't know how we pronounce that. You will find his name easily on internet. What I like is that even if there is a ghostwriter, we can recognize the way Prince Harry speaks. And there are very specifically British expressions in the book, which are coming probably from Prince Harry. So what I like is that the ghostwriter managed to do a wonderful book, very well written, incredibly well written, but without betraying what Prince Harry wanted to say, and by conveying exactly the way how Prince Harry usually talks in his interviews, or even if you watch the documentary on Netflix, you can see how he speaks and his expressions and his way of saying the things. We recognize that in the book. That's why I liked a lot that book, but it's not the only reason. I will explain everything. Okay, so I need my glasses to talk about that. Know why. It's something serious. It's something really serious. Okay, yes, if I need to read, I have my glasses. I've never been especially a fan of the royalty, the royals, the kings, the princes and all that. I don't care. I don't mind. I mean, if it makes people happy in England and in United Kingdom in general, good for them. I'm happy for them. I really don't care. I come from a country where they killed the kings. Killed, it's not exactly the right word. They used to, you know what I mean. I'm not originally French. I have a French passport. I lived all my life in France before coming here in USA. But I'm not a real French, I would say. So I feel a little ashamed to come from a country where they were so aggressive towards kings and queens, and it disturbs me a little. I think that other methods could have been used rather than that. The French Revolution was not pretty. So I have nothing against the royals. I'm not saying that they are all great. No. Actually, I don't care. I just don't care. So I never followed the kings, the queen, the princess. I knew, of course, who was everybody. You know, in France, we are just beside England, so we cannot miss it. We know everything about them. I had a lot of respect towards the Queen, Elizabeth, because I think that lasting so long, it was probably hard, but she was there and she stayed. I never followed them because I was not interested. I don't read the tabloids. I absolutely despise the tabloids. So I never read these kind of stories, or even the magazines about royals. It's not really my thing, so I don't care. But I must say that when Diana died, and I remember exactly that day because I was actually in vacation in Los Angeles, and we were just about to go back home in Paris. And a friend of mine, and I think it's my friend Ron Kane, told me that day, did you hear Lady Diana died in a car crash in Paris under the Pont de l'Alma, the Alma Bridge. I remember exactly where I was in Los Angeles when he told me that, and I was shocked. I was really shocked. Not because I was a fan of Lady Diana. I had a lot of sympathy for her, especially because of her marriage, how it happened, and what Charles did to her. I had some sympathy for her because of that. But I was not a fan. I was not following her. I didn't know what she was doing in Paris. But my thought went to the children, Harry and William, because I thought that it's terrible to lose a mother like that, especially at their age, very young. Harry was 12, and obviously William was already 15, if I understood. So I was especially worried for Harry because William, he had his fate already written. He's supposed to become the king at a point. So I thought, the Queen and Charles, they are going to really to raise him to become a king. So he knew what he had to do, William. But Harry, first he was very young, 12, it's so small. And then what is he going to be? What he's going to do? Because, even if I was not following the royals, I still was seeing some photos on internet, or sometimes, you buy a magazine for something, but there are still photos of something else. And you see photos of Lady Diana with her son Harry, and they seem very close. So I thought of him right away. I thought of both of them, but especially of Harry because he was the youngest and he was not supposed to become a king. So I was kind of worried for him. And also I think that because I'm a mother myself and I have two sons who are grown-ups now, but my sons are around the same age as Harry and William, same generation. So I reacted like a mother. I don't know why. I felt like if I had to keep an eye on them, I know it's ridiculous because I cannot do anything for them. I was not following them, but when I was hearing something or when I was seeing photos in the magazines or wherever it happened, because as I was saying, I never buy tabloids, so I couldn't really know what was happening. Actually, in tabloids, it's only lies, so you can't know in the tabloids what is happening. It's only lies. So when I was hearing something, I was paying attention, because I was actually worried for them and especially for Harry. But time was passing and it seemed okay. I heard a few things about Harry. Harry did this, Harry did that. And I remember that at a point I thought, poor guy, he cannot do anything without everybody talking about it. So I didn't know how much I was right to think of that. And I don't know why I had so much sympathy for Harry. Maybe because he reminds me of my younger son. So maybe I was projecting. And actually, William, by a certain way, reminds me of my older son. In a family, even if you are not a king or a queen or a princess or whatever, in a family, very often the oldest one, the elder boy, is supposed to be the most responsible one. And the youngest one, we forgive him a lot of things because he's the youngest and he doesn't know, and we protect him. He doesn't have the same role as the oldest one. I don't know if it's in whole families like that, but I must admit that I was a little like that with my kids. There is more difference between my two kids, so my older son was really a little more older than my youngest. So my older son was keeping an eye on the youngest one, and for example, my youngest one once almost set the house on fire, and it's my oldest son who saved the situation. So I think that even in general, in families, we have a tendency to give the most important role to the oldest one, and maybe we are more cool with the youngest one. I don't know, maybe not, but it was a little like that in my home also, which is not fair actually. When he got married with Meghan Markle, I remember that I was very excited, first that he was getting married, because I thought, oh, okay, now he has someone, like if it was my son, you know, which is ridiculous, I know, but I'm like that. I have a lot of compassion and empathy for people. I cannot help it. So I was happy for him, and I was very happy that the Queen accepted that he married this woman who was American, divorced, activist, actress, and half black. And I thought, wow, the Queen became really modern. And I remember that I even talked about that to my mom over the phone. I was here. I remember that day. I told my mother, did you see who Prince Harry is marrying? And you know, we never talk about the royals at home. I mean, with my mother over the phone, I never talked about the royals. The only time we talked about it, it's when Harry married Meghan, because I thought that it was so comforting to know that a half-black woman was accepted in England and by the Queen. There was something really new. And I remember that my mother also was excited about that, and she told me, yes, that's great. But then I was reading a lot of bad reading. Once again, I don't read these magazines, so I don't know how I knew. Maybe on Twitter, some magazines were doing advertising for an article, or maybe on Facebook, or maybe online, on internet in general, or maybe at the French news as I listened every morning. Maybe they were talking about that. I don't know. I don't know how I knew that Meghan Markle was not treated really well in England. I didn't think much about it. I mean, I didn't take some time to wonder why. Well, I was supposing why, you know. I thought about the racism right away. And also I thought, you know, she's an American woman. I'm in USA. My youngest son married an American woman. And I know how they are. The women here are very ambitious, very strong. They know what they want. They don't accept to walk behind the husband. That's not. They want to be equal with the man, which is perfect for my younger son. They are perfect for each other. So I thought, if Meghan Markle is like my daughter-in-law, I understand why she can't handle the royals. I mean, we can't ask Meghan Markle to shut up and just to appear to be nice in front of the camera, and that's it. That's impossible. It's like two different cultures which are trying to be mixed together, but it cannot work. I'm not saying that English women are not ambitious. I'm not saying that. I'm saying in the monarchy, I don't know how we say, among the royals, let's say, in Buckingham Palace, it doesn't work like in California, obviously. So I'm not surprised that it doesn't work well. So then I remember, and that was at the French news, I remember that Harry and Meghan were leaving the United Kingdom to move to Canada, that they wanted to not abandon everything, but going away a little. And I thought, good for them. I was actually happy for them. Then I heard that they moved from Canada to California. So I thought, even better! Finally, Harry will be so much happier here. And I was happy to think that he was almost my neighbor, you know. My neighbor, it's a way of speaking because it's so big. I was really glad, even if it's none of my concern. I mean, it's not my family. I shouldn't care. but I cared. I really liked them both. I didn't know her before, Meghan Markle. I didn't watch Suit, so I've not watched her in the series. But I really like this woman. And then I watched the Netflix documentary. I had more and more interest in them because they left, because I thought, wow, they moved away, I moved away. I thought that's funny, when we want to run away, we all end up in California. And I saw something that I did myself in them. Why did I leave? A lot of reasons. So anti-Semitism, also my marriage, which ended there, and it was a nightmare for me to be there. And also, so yes, another thing. My family used to be not as famous as Harry and family. My mother was in the show business. My whole family was in the show business, in the music. There was a time when it was a little complicated to belong to that family. The paparazzi, I know what it is. Nothing compared to Prince Harry. Nothing. It's my situation was a tiny scale compared to this royal family. But the tiny thing that I lived during my childhood has been a nightmare. I was in the tabloids, articles about me, ridiculous articles, saying that I was 12 and that I was doing this and that did that and that happened. And nothing was true. And when they were saying that I was 12, actually I was already 16. And of course, in high school, everybody was making fun of me. So that was not funny. And I was ashamed to see my face on a newspaper without my permission. I was not even asked. And so I hated that. I hated that. And I'm not talking about the bodyguard who followed me during like 3 months when I was in high school because I was in danger. So that's not fun when you are trying to have a boyfriend, when you have the bodyguard behind you everywhere. It doesn't help. So it was not a very long period like that, but still, yes. I would say that between the period when I was 12 to when I had my second child, it has been not funny. And when you are in a situation where someone in your family is a little famous, you never know if your friends are your friends because of you or because of your name. And there was a point when I was lying on my name. I was changing my name when I was introduced to someone. I was not saying my name to avoid being treated differently or by an hypocrite way. My problem is that I married a guy who his name, that was actually funny because I was using my name as a married woman. The problem is that my ex-husband had someone in his family who became famous. So then everybody was asking me if I was a part of the family of this guy who was famous. So it was funny because it was like if I couldn't escape the fame. And I hated that because it was not because of something that I was doing myself, but I was enduring the fame of someone else. So it was really annoying. And a lot of things happened. And I don't want to go in that because it's not interesting and it's so tiny. It's not so interesting. What is wonderful in United States is that nobody knows about my family or anything, and nobody cares, and that's perfect for me because I can finally live a normal life. And when people don't like me, I know why they don't like me. It's because of me, and when they like me, it's because of me too. So it's so much better. That's probably why I was so happy for Harry, because even if he's the Prince Harry and the whole world knows him, Still, in United States, you know, there are a lot of famous people, a lot of stars, a lot of people who have a lot of money. So even if they know him, they are less impressed. So I thought he will have a much more normal life. That's why I was so happy for him. And when I watched the Netflix documentary and he's speaking about the tabloids and the paparazzis who killed his mother, I understand that. I believe him. I believe him because all what he's saying, I lived it. Not at that point. Fortunately for me, the paparazzi never tried to push me or to make me nervous and to make me react. No, I never lived something like that. That's terrible. I believe him because I know by a very little way, by a very little scale, I know what it is. So if it was terrible for me at this tiny scale, I can imagine how much it was terrible for him. That's why I believe him. I also remember that I never understood his mother's death. I was searching the other day on internet to see if there are a lot of accidents in a tunnel. I drove there so many times. I couldn't understand how an accident could happen there. But it seems that it happens. It seems that they lower the speed, the allowed speed there, because there are some accidents. So I don't know. When it happened, I didn't get it. I didn't understand what happened. And even later, there is something which doesn't seem right. But that's only my opinion. I'm not saying that there is something more to search. He searched. He went there. Harry, he went there. He asked the driver to drive at the same speed as the car where his mother was. That's terrible. Anyway, I'm not going to tell you the whole story, his book, what he's saying, because I really think that everyone should read that book. Here is the book. You have to read this book because, you know, the Netflix documentary is great. I understood a lot of things in it. But here you have his thoughts and only his thoughts. The documentary is about Harry and Meghan. Here it's only him. Actually, Meghan, she arrives only at the end of the book. I would say maybe 75% of the book, it's not Meghan. It's him, only him. He didn't know Meghan. He didn't know Meghan. He knows Meghan only at the end. So you cannot say, oh, she's the one who influenced him. No, he's telling you his truth, how he lived it as a child, then as a young man, then as an adult, and how he lived it, what he was seeing, how he was feeling it, what he understood. It's not automatically the truth, it's his truth. We all have a way of understanding events. It doesn't mean that someone else is going to understand the events by the same way as you do. But it's a very sincere book. When you read this book, you know that he's not lying. You know why? Because he's saying things about himself which are not automatically great for him, great image of him. He's saying everything, even the things that we don't especially want to know. He says everything, even the things he's ashamed of. He says everything. Why? Why does he do that? That's genius, actually. You know why? Because then the tabloids, they can't say something more about him. They can't say, he didn't say that, but he did that. They can't, because he said it all. Everything is said here. So some things are great, some things are less great, and he says it. He owns his mistakes. The beginning of the book, he speaks a lot of his mother. Actually, the book starts when his mother dies. So it's like if his mother's death is defining the whole book. It's difficult for me to talk about that because when I'm going to get emotional, I'm sorry. I don't know why. Every time when I read what he says about his mother, I never cry when I read a book. It's very rare that I cry when I read a book. I cried the whole beginning of the book. I don't know why it makes, well, it's sad, but I'm not Harry. I mean, I cannot feel what he feels. You know, he lost his mother. It was not my mother. So even if I was sad when she died, she's not of my family. I don't know her, Lady Diana. I don't know why it touches me so much. I don't know. Especially that I told you I'm not the kind of woman who cares about the royals. I don't. Bon, ben voilà autre chose. Okay. Okay, I went to feed my cat and to clean my eyes. I'm really sorry. I don't understand why it makes me cry every time I think of what he has written. When I was reading it, I was crying. And you know, he said that he couldn't cry when his mother died, except when she was actually buried. He cried only once, but then he couldn't cry, and he tried and he tried, and he was feeling guilty, and he couldn't cry. And you see, I'm crying when I talk about that, and when I remember what he wrote in his book. And when my mother died, not a very long time ago, I couldn't cry. I had to force myself to cry. So I understand what he's saying. I think that sometimes the shock is too strong and we don't realize. And in his case, he was sure that she was not dead and that she was hiding somewhere. She was hiding from the paparazzi. That's terrible. This book made me cry, but made me laugh a lot also. It made me laugh also because he has a great sense of humor, and it shows in the book. And I laughed a lot also. So you must know, if you expect to buy this book and that you are going to read gossip about the royalty and things like that, it's not that. I don't consider that gossip. It's not gossip. He's just explaining what he was living, how things were working, what he was doing, what he was seeing. Just a description of his life. It's not saying bad things about other people. Actually, he loves a lot his father and he loves a lot his brother. And he seems to tolerate his stepmother. So considering what they did to him, I think he's incredibly, how to say that? I would say it takes a remarkable person to be able to still have some love in his heart in spite of all. And I'm not saying that these people were horrible, at least at the beginning. I was finding Prince Charles, because he was still prince then, I was finding Prince Charles more sympathetic than I thought, and nicer towards his sons than I thought. So at the beginning, it's rather, at the beginning of the book, he calls his son a darling boy. The father seems really nice, eccentric, a little weird, but nice. I was not imagining Prince Charles like that. I thought, oh, actually he's much better than I thought. Yes, that is at the beginning of the book. When we arrive at the end, it's a little more complicated, because I think that as long as the kids were small, the father was behaving like a father. Once they are grown-ups, it's a little strange. It's not as nice. A lot of people who love Harry start being really very hateful towards William. So once again, I react like a mother who has two sons. And honestly, I don't know what to think about William, because I think he's as much a victim as Harry. The only difference is that Harry, the fact that he was not supposed to be the king, he was not the heir but the spare, I think that somehow it saved his life. I mean, he didn't have the same obligation and pressure on him as William. And William, according to me, that is my humble opinion, according to me, it was forced on him when he was a child, and now he accepted it, so he does everything to be king one day, but I don't think that he loves it. I think that he does it because it's what he's supposed to do, and because he doesn't have the talent that Harry has. So what makes him special? What makes him special is that one day he will be king. But I don't know who William is. I know who Harry is because he told us in this book. I know who he is. I don't know who William is. I don't know what he likes, what he's passionate about, what he would like to do as a king. He doesn't seem to be as brave, as courageous as his brother, as Harry. He doesn't seem to have the same passion for Africa, for example, as Harry. It's like if he follows what he's told to, but he doesn't take initiatives. He doesn't say, I want it like that. I'm passionate about that. I want to do that like that. It seems that what he wants, what he really wants, it's maybe sometimes not to be the heir and to be able to, I don't know, to party, to not have this pressure on him anymore. So that's why I'm not so harsh towards William, because I think that he's a victim in the story. He's trapped. He's completely trapped, because imagine, tomorrow, no more king, no more queen, no more prince, royalty down, we decide it's over. What William is going to do? He's going to go to get a job? Yes, but in what? Do we know what he likes, what he wants? We don't. He has been told what he wants and what he likes. He never had the opportunity to decide what he wants and what he likes. I think that William is jealous of Harry because Harry knows what he wants. He has the freedom. He could marry who he wanted. I'm not sure that by marrying Kate, he's so happy in his marriage. I suppose that he loves his kids. He's trapped. It's very sad for him. Now I feel fine for Harry. I just don't want him to go to the coronation. It's not up to me to say. But if he was my son, I would tell him not to go because it's too dangerous for him, for her, for the children. I think it's too dangerous. There are so many haters out there. But beside that, I think that he's good. He's going to have a great life now. I touch wood, I hope so. But for William, I'm worried. You know, I wondered why I bought this book. Maybe 10 minutes before ordering it, I didn't know that I was going to buy it. And you know what decided me to buy it? I was watching the French news and they talk about the book, which was about to be released. And they said the title in French is Le Suppléant. So it means the person who is there to replace the one who is supposed to be king. Suppléant, it can be a suppléant of anything. But suppléant, it means he will be there to replace William if William is not able to do his job. So the title in French is already sad. But then someone who was there, a journalist, said, No, but in English, the title is spare, and it's worst because spare is the thing that you keep just in case, but which is not really useful. And when I heard that, the title spare, it broke my heart. Really, it shocked me. And I thought, right away, I went on Amazon, I pre-ordered it, it was not released yet. And I thought, no matter what, I want to buy this book. I didn't even know if I was really going to be interested in it, but I wanted to buy it just for the principle of it, just to support Harry, because I thought that's terrible to be called the spare. That's awful. Now that I have read the book, I'm less shocked because I think that being the spare, it's what saved him. Because he can do whatever he wants now. Nobody is asking him to be the king, so he can go away. He can have his own life. He can be happy. But by reading this book, I also know that William is not happy. Obviously, he's not happy. Now I'm worried for William. That's why I don't want to criticize William. I don't want to be mean towards William because he's in a very tough situation. And I'm not sure he will ever be king. I'm not sure about that. Now, when I see what is happening right now, I'm not sure that the royalty will last long. It was okay as long as the queen was there, because she was someone. You know what I liked when the queen was alive? I mean, in the royalty, I was never interested in that, as I told you, but I sell some items of home decor and things like that. And what sells really well is the tin box with the Queen Elizabeth face. I sold a lot of things like that. So I was buying these things when I didn't know much about the royalty, but now, once I know exactly how people live there and what is happening and what they are doing, and all the people who work in Buckingham, not only the family, also the people who work in these offices in Buckingham and in Kensington and in I don't know which castle. When I know what they are doing now, this family doesn't really work, really, you know, they don't have a job to feed themselves. They live off the taxpayers. I think that it can be a problem in UK, especially now, because people are starving. They can't pay the electricity to heat their home, and they still have to pay taxes to these people. And now that we know what is happening inside, and how they behave, I'm not sure that royalty is going to continue. I'm not saying that Harry wrote a book to make the royalty disappear. No, he believes in royalty. He doesn't want his family to be in trouble. He didn't do that for that. But us, as readers, when we read that, we think, no. We can accept royals and these families as long as they behave with dignity, as long as they are, I wouldn't say perfect because nobody is perfect, but I mean good behavior in general. Think about what they can do for the people because of their position. They have to give a good example and they have to help the poor, things like that. But what is happening there, it's not that. It's petty. It's small. It's a miracle that Harry is how he is because he's so smart. He's so clever. How can he be so clever when you have so petty people in his family and so petty people surrounding the family? Petty is the word. And we say, mesquin in French. Petit makes me think of petit, you know. Petit in French is small. They are small people. And kings are not supposed to be small. They are supposed to be big. How I am sure that it's true. You know, since the book was released, they have proven themselves, they have proven many times that what he's saying is true. They are just confirming what he's saying. their behavior is even smaller and smaller and smaller and more ridiculous. That's my opinion. During the last World War, the mother of Queen Elizabeth, she stayed, in spite of the bombs on London, they stayed in London to be with the people. That is what I call being a queen or a king, not what they are doing right now. How did they become like that? They are in a bubble. They have no idea what is happening outside of this ridiculous bubble. And now with internet, everybody knows everything. With internet, we are all connected. So in this book also, you are going to see a lot of travel. He travels a lot, especially in Africa. He loves Africa. He's trying to save animals there, like elephants or rhinoceros. Basically, he has been running away all his life. He's running and running and running and running. At a point, I was thinking, I feel like in 24, with Jack Bauer, running to escape the danger, running all the time. That's Harry. He's running all the time. And we are running with him. And he speaks a lot of the war in Afghanistan when he was fighting twice there. By reading the book, it's like if you are in the war and you see everything. Yes, that's what is fantastic in this book, is that everything is so beautifully and well described that you have the feeling to be in the book and to be where he is. It's like a film. You read this book, it's like watching a film. A lot of action. If Harry had never met Meghan, I can guarantee you that he would have left by a way or another. Because what is he doing in his book? He's always leaving. He's always going away, far away, far, far away. And he doesn't really want to come back. And he's always away, 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 away. Even he prefers going to the war rather than being in England and facing his paparazzi. He met Meghan, who is American. It was the perfect wife for him. And she's smart and she's driven. She's another level, really, than the other ridiculous people who are there. And even without Meghan, anyway, he would have never stayed there. Actually, Meghan was the little push which helped him to do what he really wanted to do anyway. At the beginning, I thought, okay, I'm going to read the book and I'm going to take notes of everything I want to say. The problem is that if I had done that, I wouldn't stop talking. I would have filled a whole book of comments. I could talk and talk and talk about this book the whole day. So I thought it's impossible. I cannot do a video like that. Already right now, I think that I said too much. I don't know how I'm going to edit my video. It's already very long. But I took notes of a few details. Yes, I want to say something important. Don't believe the media. And the journalists, when they say what is written in it by showing it like if it's ridiculous, don't listen to them, because once you read the book, it's everything but ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. It's not ridiculous at all. On contrary, it's very profound, deep. It's interesting. It's smart. It's the contrary of what the journalists say. So don't listen to the media, to the social media. Don't listen to the haters. Don't listen to, oh, but we know what is true and he's lying. No, he's not lying. I can guarantee you that he's not lying. He's telling the truth. And the truth is not always nice for himself. So I can tell you that this guy is telling the truth. Don't have an opinion as long as you don't have read this book. Read the book or listen to it. Harry read the book himself, so you can listen Harry reading the book. If you don't want to read, if it's too thick for you to read, you can always listen to it. I didn't listen to it. I actually read it, and it was not easy for me because it's in English, which is not my first language. My first language is French. And there are a lot of words that I didn't know because or they are too technical or they are very typically British, and I more speak American English than British English. So there are a lot of words that I didn't know. I can tell you that in one page I could maybe search for 10 words, and it took some time, but I did it. I had my iPhone here. I go to internet, and I have, I'm sorry, I was searching for the ghostwriter. I have internet. I go to wordreference.com. I wanted to understand every word, so it took me some time. I read the book by reading in the evening only, but sometimes I was reading until 3 a.m. because I couldn't stop. It was fascinating. And I can tell you that I'm usually not interested in royals, but it's not really about the royals. It's about him, his story. I was really interested, in spite of the war, in spite of the things very typically men, it's for men, and fights and war and running and things which are not very girly, I would say. But I thought, who would have said that I would be interested in that? And I was. And it took me about 1 week by reading every night. Not the whole night, I still was sleeping at a point. A lot of work, but that's a good way to learn English. So if you didn't know, Charles is sniffing everything. He describes his father by a funny way. It makes Charles very sympathetic at the beginning. Charles used Eau Sauvage by Christian Dior. My stepfather used Eau Sauvage by Christian Dior, so I perfectly know this perfume. Harry's best friend also died in a car accident, so imagine he lost his mother and then his best friend in a car accident. Poor guy. Also, no hug for the Queen. So he's talking about a scene where Diana wanted to hug the Queen. It was awkward and the Queen didn't let Diana hug her. That is sad. No hug, never. Harry always wants to hug the Queen and he's not allowed to do that. It's his grandmother. It's terrible, I think. It's so sad. The Nazi costume episode. Okay, so I wanted to talk about that. I should be offended by the Nazi episode. There was a party, I think that Harry was 20 or 21 or something like that, and he was invited to a party where they were supposed to wear the most ridiculous costume. He didn't know what to choose, and he was hesitating between a Nazi costume or a pilot costume, and he asked his brother Willie and Kate, and they laughed and they told him to choose the Nazi costume. So I should be offended by that because my family is Jewish. Part of my family died in the camps, killed by the Nazis. So I should be the first one to be shocked by that. But once again, I react as a mother. I know that boys can be really stupid sometimes, especially when they are young like that. I suppose that if the party was about the most inappropriate costume, that should be it. What surprises me, and my younger son, that's something that he could have done, even though he comes from a Jewish family and he knows what it means. But when he was young, that's something that he could have done. That's why it doesn't shock me that much, because I know how boys can be stupid sometimes. But what surprises me is that they didn't receive the education for them to know what it meant. What surprises me is that William didn't tell his brother, no, don't use that, it's inappropriate. So, is it because William didn't know either? What kind of education they received? I'm wondering about that. Or did William do it in purpose to make Harry look bad? One or the other, it doesn't look good. Charles' reaction was okay and not okay, I would say. He knows that his kids didn't know, but it's not normal that his kids didn't know. You see what I mean? When you're supposed to become a king, like William, maybe you should know these kinds of things. It could be useful in the future. What I liked is that Harry learned from that. He went to Berlin. He went to see a rabbi. He tried to learn something from that, evolve, and grow up. I think that his reaction is very sane and healthy, and then he can be forgiven because somehow it was not his fault. I know that he's not Nazi, it's just ignorance or stupidity that can be changed. And obviously, it could be changed. Harry did the necessary to change his mind about that. So maybe we can forgive and forget. Harry went to the army in May 2005. So May 2005 is exactly when my ex-husband left. So obviously a lot of things happened then. When Lady Diana died, it was in August 1997. And it's exactly when I knew that I wanted to move to California. So it doesn't mean anything, but it's strange that many dates, which are very important in his life, were also important in my life. That's it. It's just weird, I would say. Surprising. Yes, the war and hunting episodes, not so easy to handle by reading about them. He managed to see the philosophical aspect always. It's about death mostly. Yes, it's like all the time he takes so many risks. He seems not to feel the pain. He could have died so many times. You have to read it. You have to read it to understand. He always runs away. That's what I was saying. He feels the absence at each wedding, father, brother, but he will be the one who will run away further. A need to run away from the paps and from his pain. Yes, because he was so hurt when his mother died and he couldn't cry. So he was running and running and running to escape the pain, to escape something. It was never enough because he couldn't handle the situation. So he had to run 8-hour cream Elizabeth Arden. So he went to the North Pole. So he says, I went to the North Pole and now my South Pole is on the fridge. A lot of journalists joked about that because he had a part of his body, I would say, I don't know what I'm allowed to say on a video on YouTube. Let's say that his South Pole was frozen in the North Pole when he was in the North Pole, and a friend of his told him to use Elizabeth Arden. He doesn't say 8-hour cream, but I'm sure that it's this one. I always have that with me everywhere. I've always had that my whole life. My mother was using it. I'm using it. For example, if you have sunburn, that is a miracle. If you have an irritation on the skin, dry lips, anything related to the skin. So yes, probably it could have done something for a frozen South Pole. I suppose so. Royal fame was fancy captivity. It's exactly that. It's exactly that. It's exactly why I'm worried for William, because he is in a golden cage. So yes, he talks about the number of enemies he killed. A lot of journalists criticize that also. You must check the context in what he's saying that. I didn't find anything shocking in what he's saying. You must check the context because it's not said as what the media said. And actually the number was already known previously because a journal, a magazine talked about that before. Everybody knew about it already. So he says, negativity bias is baked into our brain. It's because people always want to believe the worst. So that's why people believe what he said on the tabloids, because their mind is made by such a way that they want always to believe the worst. Apache, that is the helicopter, the big helicopter that he learned to drive. I'm scared to go in a helicopter, honestly. But what he's explaining about the helicopters where he learned to drive, and when they were bigger and bigger and more complicated to use, really it interested me. I'm not usually interested in helicopters, but I learned something. So he had already fought twice in Afghanistan, came back. He had, I don't know if we say post-traumatic syndrome or something like that. People who were in a war, sometimes they have psychological problems after, and it was his case. I'm sorry if my camera is crooked, but it doesn't want to stay straight. I'm really sorry about that. And so he had come back from Afghanistan the second time. When his mother died, nobody did anything to help him cope with the death. Nobody cared. He was left alone. No hug, no kisses, nothing. 12 years old. And then he fought in the war. So he talks to his father about that and tells his father that he has problems. And Charles says, I suppose it's my fault. I should have got you the help you needed years ago. So you imagine, he was already a grown-up. He fought twice in Afghanistan. And only then Charles realizes that he should have done something. It's better than never. They are morons or what? I always thought that they had taken care of him when his mother died. No, I'm sorry, I don't get that. If only they could see me now, then I'd go back to folding my underwear and watching the one with Monica and Chandler's wedding. You don't know how many times I was folding my laundry by watching Friends. So I thought, okay, he's my twin. You must know he's Virgo, I'm Virgo. Maybe it has something to do with that. I don't know, I'm not very good in astrology. But I'm not a prince. It's normal for me. It's a little more strange for him. So he bought his clothes at TK Maxx. He was going for the sales. The boss of TK Maxx, it's TJ Maxx here in the US, said that it was not possible because there was no sales and that Harry didn't go there. That is a lie. I went to the TK Maxx sales myself, not in England, but in Germany, and there were some sales. And you can find on internet photos of Harry coming out of TK Maxx with his bag because he bought his clothes there. So it's a discount store. At a point he says, nature was still my God. He's not very religious, but obviously nature is his God. I like that because I'm not very religious either, and nature is also my God. And I was always very interested in the Indian beliefs, Native American, I mean. They believe a lot in nature. William wanted to keep Africa for himself. When you are a king or prince, you must not think of yourself. You must think of the interest of the country, of the people, of what you are working for. So I think that Africa is big enough for William and Harry. Harry did so much for Africa that I think that he deserved to have a part of it. And anyway, Africa belongs to nobody, maybe to Africans. It doesn't belong to Harry or William. They are supposed to help. So, no, William, Africa is not your thing. It's just... I wanted to say that. According to Brits, Americans are too loud, too rich, too happy, too confident, too direct, too honest. So, too loud? Yes, sometimes yes. Too rich? Sometimes yes, but I don't care about that. Too happy? Happier than Europeans, I would say, yes. Confident? Definitely yes. Too direct? That's right. Very direct. It's very surprising when we arrive here. It shocked me at the beginning, and then I got used to it. And now I became as direct as they are, and it surprises my friends in Europe. Too honest, it depends on what definition of honest. I mean, there are dishonest people everywhere in the world, including in the United States. Too honest in the sense, straight to the point, too direct, frank, yes, maybe. Oh, so I wrote Compton. Meghan was accused to come from Compton directly to Buckingham. That's horrible. That is racism. That is racism because Compton is a little far from me. It's not in a very good Los Angeles area. I never go to Compton because I don't want to be shot. It's dangerous. There are a lot of criminals. Yes, it's not a place to go. And Los Angeles is huge. Meghan can come from Los Angeles and not automatically from Compton. It's like if you were saying that New York, it's only the Bronx, that every New Yorker comes from the Bronx. Something like that. Diana, she was wearing First by Van Cleef and Arpels. First by Van Cleef and Arpels. I kept it. It was the perfume that my mother was wearing. I don't really wear that. When I smell it, it reminds me of my mother. It's funny because between Eau Sauvage, Dior, and First by Van Cleef and Arpels, basically it's my stepfather perfume and my mother's perfume. Harry went to ask Elizabeth, the Queen, if he is allowed to marry, to propose to Meghan. And he says to the Queen, you have to give me the permission. You have to. And she answers, I have to? Like if she doesn't know. And she answered, well, I suppose I have to say yes. I think that the Queen was a little sarcastic and playing with the words have to. What surprises me is that she didn't seem to know that she had to give the permission to Harry, and she seems to make fun a little of the protocol. That's how I feel it. This scene really surprised me, like if she didn't care, really. Yes, like if she was making fun of the protocol. Yes, I noted William would like to be able to do all what Harry is doing. Harry could keep his beard when he got married. He could wear his military costume for his wedding. All what William couldn't do. It made William really upset about that. So you see, William is not free to do whatever he wants. He envies Harry. It's really sad for him. Archie shown like a chimp leaving hospital, and it was written Royal Baby Leaves Hospital. That is horrible. That proves how racist are the tabloids. I think that the guy who did that was fired. I'm not sure, but I think that I read something like that. He talks about the cost of a monarchy on the taxpayers. So that's interesting to read. At the last page, he is thanking the readers for reading. That is nice. I felt touched. I was surprised also to see that Charles seems not to want to spend money on Meghan, on Harry. He's even complaining about spending some money on William. But if he doesn't, how they are going to live as they are not allowed to work? So I found that weird. And they have a lot of money. It's not like if they were poor. Regarding Kate, I don't know what to say about this woman. I find her strange. The story about the baby brain, what Meghan told her, and she was upset because Meghan is not supposed to talk about her hormones or something like that. And you know, I think that Meghan was just trying to find an excuse because Kate forgot something and she told her, oh, it's nothing, it's just baby brain. My camera is falling down. I don't understand that because I've been told that when I was pregnant with my second, I was forgetting everything and I was falling asleep everywhere. So someone told me, oh, you have baby brain, or We don't say it like that in French, but it was what it meant. And I was not offended because someone told me that. It was true. So I don't understand why she got offended about that. She was upset also because Meghan and Harry didn't buy Easter gifts. I don't know, it's a thing in United Kingdom, that Easter gifts? I never heard of something like that. So I don't know what to think about Kate, and offended when she shows her behind. I'm going to be polite. She shows her behind all the time. You know, she wears dresses which are flying with the wind, and she doesn't wear underwear underneath. So many photos on internet about her behind, and then she's offended about baby brain. The most ridiculous thing that I read. I don't get it. And she doesn't seem happy. It's like for William, it's very sad. And Camilla, I don't want even to talk about her. When you think that she's going to become the queen. After Elizabeth, Camilla. We must not forget that she was the mistress. Charles was married, he was unfaithful, he was cheating on his wife, and now the mistress, the other woman, is becoming the queen. What? And he's divorced and he's becoming a king? Actually, I wanted to watch a documentary about, you know, the one who left to marry an American divorced woman and who resigned. He couldn't marry her because she was divorced. But here, Charles is divorced. Camilla is divorced. And Camilla was the mistress when Charles was cheating on his wife. And they are both becoming king and queen. What? Yes, it's not what it used to be anymore. It's weird how the rules change according to the situations. All that to tell you, don't listen to the media, don't listen to the tabloid, don't listen to all the trash newspaper. I call that the trash newspapers. Don't listen to them. They are angry because Harry was brave enough to write this book. It's a very sensitive, deep and sincere book about the history of a young man who didn't have quite the life as everyone and who decided that he wanted to live differently, escape what was making him unhappy. And that is brave. That is very brave. He decided to live this life of privilege. We think that he was privileged. Not so much. But he was supposed to be privileged. That was the image that we had of him. But he decided that he wanted to escape this golden cage and that he wanted to live his life by working and earning his own money. And I applaud that. This woman, Meghan Markle, she's remarkable. She's very intelligent, amazing in everything she does. I think that it's always inspiring to watch people who are intelligent. We always learn something from someone smart. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I precise that I'm not paid to say that. I'm not going to receive a commission for that. No, no, no. I hate the bullies. I had nothing against Charles and co. I didn't care about these people, but I think that they should apologize for what they did. Okay, see you soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. And if you have more questions about the book, let me know. If you don't have the courage to read it, maybe you can listen to it. Everybody tells me that read by Harry, it's wonderful. Maybe I will do that later. Okay, see you soon. Bye.